What's up, everybody? This is going to be a video where we're going to take a look at a build for Arachne, and I might try to give you some ideas about how you can spice up your Arachne builds. This particular build is going to be a what I call tank killer build. I'm going to put in a lot of items that will have some penetration, that will strip protections, and we'll be using items specifically made to basically take down the big characters. The reason I like this on Arachne is she's great at chasing down characters with her webs and her movement speed. So what better character to chase down than big tanks who are already really slow? And it's a lot easier for her, I think, to chase down those type of tanky characters. So this is almost a late game kind of builds where you might be obviously you're going to be able to kill mages and hunters with this type of build, but you're also going to be able to take down those big tanks with this build. And I think a lot of the new items that came out in season 3 for assassins in particular, some of them were geared specifically to be tank killing items, and I don't really see those items being used. And I think with a lot of these videos that I'm coming up with, how to spice up some of your builds, I'm trying to include those new items because a lot of them are not getting much love, as I've said in one of my past videos. So I think it's important to kind of look at these items and see what situations might these items thrive in, and how can we start to use these items instead of just saying, oh, it's a new item, I don't really trust it, I don't know much about it. And I mean, the best way for high res to understand if an item is working is for people to use it and to give feedback. And so I think, there are items that are definitely missing from builds, mainly because players want to stay safe. They want to stick with the items that they know. And I'm gonna try and come up with a build that I think will shake it up a little bit and try some new things. So hopefully, you guys will enjoy this build, and maybe you can try it out and tell me what you think. So to start off, we're going to go with Boomba's Mask. Obviously, with every jungler, you want to be using Boomba's Mask because it gives you extra damage on jungle camps, and that's really crucial for junglers. So every jungler you have should start with Boomba's Mask. It may be against your intuition, maybe if you're playing like an Athena or some kind of other non assassin god. If you're playing them jungle, you might want to start off with a different item, but trust me, every god, doesn't matter what role or class they are, they should be starting with Boomba's Mask. And after that, we're going to go into boots. This is not going to be an early aggression build, so we're not going to try and go red pot on her, even though red pot on Arachne is very strong. With this type of build, I think it's not gonna be early game focused. It's gonna be more late game focused. So we're gonna start with boots 1. Oh, sorry. Let me change that to boots 1. And then I start with, for pots, I like to go 2 mana and 2 health. I think that's fair enough. You probably won't even need the mana pots, but it's good to have them just in case. When you're assassin, you're more likely to use the health pots just because you're going to be roaming a lot early game. So you're going to have time for the mana to come back. So you won't really need them, but it's good to have them early game just in case. After you buy your starting items, you really shouldn't be buying any mana pots after that, in my opinion. So we're going to start off this build again with Warrior Tabi. This will give you plus 40 physical power and plus 18 movement speed. To me, this is much more worth compared to Ninja Tabi. Ninja Tabi will again give you more attack speed, but you don't really need that early game, I don't think. I think the physical power early gives you that extra spike, so you can just really take down the waves more easily rather than using the attack speed. In fact, I think attack speed is a little bit overrated in Smite. While it is important on hunters, I think on most junglers it's not as important as people make it out to be. That's why you kind of saw Ao Kuang, a lot of people were building him attack speed and they're realizing, well, it's great if he has attack speed, but if he doesn't have any damage in his build to back that attack speed up, what's the point? And I think a lot of my builds, especially with hunters, they include attack speed, but I think they have less attack speed than builds that I had in season 2, mainly because, you can attack more quickly, but if you're not doing enough damage, then those attacks don't really matter. So you really need the extra physical power. Same with junglers. I think with a jungler, the attack speed, and especially someone like Arachne, who is great at chasing people down and getting in their face, rooting them, and slowing them down, and then getting all of her basic attacks off. the attack speed is great, but for me, the physical power is just way more worth it. So there is going to be attack speed in this build, but not as much as maybe some other builds. So that being said, we're going to go into right away Jotun's Wrath. This is pretty normal. You saw this throughout Season 2. In Season 3, people are still using this item, even though it got a little bit of a nerf. It's still really powerful. You can see you get the physical power, you get extra mana, some penetration. There's a little bit of early game penetration is never a bad idea. And then the cooldown reduction is so important. So that's why getting that off early is great. You can get your abilities off, get your spiders out more often. That being said, you don't really need cooldown reduction that much on Arachne, again, because she does use her basic attack a lot, and her abilities are just a way for her to set up her basic attack, so it's not necessary to, you don't necessarily need to max the CDR on Arachne. I wouldn't say. So after Jotuns, we go into Aussie, if I can find it. Now this is basically the sustain of Arachne. You're not going to get any other sustain in this build besides this. The physical lifesteal I think is enough for her to get in the fight, do her burst damage, and then survive while she's attacking. You see this with hunters. This is basically the only lifesteal you need. You know, you can use items like Soul Eater on hunters, because that will give you a good amount of lifesteal, but I think 15% lifesteal is enough. And when you drop below 30% health, you gain an additional 25% physical lifesteal for 5 seconds. I think that's more than enough. She doesn't really need any other defense besides that, in my opinion. It's a good, cheap item, so I think it fits in this build pretty well. And you'll see me compare this build to Hunter's build because, you know, Hunters are basic attack focused, and Arachne is also kind of basic attacks focused as well. So you're going to see that there is a lot of similarity between these builds in some of the items that they use. So after Aussie, we're going to start getting into the meat and potatoes, where we're going to start trying to take down the big tanks. Of course, we're going to be okay with taking down the mages and the hunters, as I said, or the other assassin. But if you want to be able to take down the tank, this is the build that I've been using, and I think it works extremely well. So this is an item that people have been using on so many different characters. It's really a great item. It's shin size, so you get a bunch of physical power, you get a little bit of attack speed, and you deal physical damage equal to 4% of the target's maximum health on basic attacks. So if you're playing against a god who's building all health, let's say you have a big, huge, tanky support out there, this item will just help you to take even more of their health, 4% of whatever their health may be. So this is a great item. You're going to be seeing it on almost every hunter. You're seeing it on a lot of assassins right now. It's very popular, and I wouldn't be surprised if it got a little bit of a nerf at some point because of how popular it is right now. So I think that's a good start. And then after that, we're going to start getting into some more specific items. The two that I'm going to be using are actually going to be two new items. So the first one is Stone Cutting Sword. This item gives you 50 physical power, which is, I think, the most physical power of any item. I don't think there's any item that gives 60. I may be wrong on that. It also gives you extra movement speed, which is really important on Arachne. So her her 3, sorry, gives her she puts a web up, and then any enemy who walks through the web, it will burst apart, and then 2 spiders will attack them, and then it leaves behind a trail of her web, which when she walks on, she gets plus 40% movement speed, I believe. And so if you're adding 10% onto that, she can just now chase enemies down even more. And then looking at the passive of this, it says that her melee basic attacks decreases the enemy physical protections by 10 and increase your physical protection by 10. So again, this is just taking more protections away, allowing you to do more power towards the bigger targets. This is a great item for you to try to take down. And to be honest, for 50 physical power and that passive, which is not too shabby, 2,900 gold is really very reasonable. So I think it's a great item. I think people are using that item pretty well. You know, a lot of people are using it. I wouldn't say it's super popular, but it is being used. So again, this is just kind of specializing this to take down those bigger targets. And then the last item is actually going to be Massamune or Massamune, whatever, I don't know how you say it. But this item is specifically made for taking down big tanky characters. So you get 30 physical power, and then again 10% more movement speed, so she's going to be really fast now with these two items. And you deal additional physical power damage against gods who have more maximum health than you, and it's equal to 1 power for every 10 health difference to a maximum of 50 damage. So that's great. You can get up to 50 extra damage with this item. And you notice in this build there's no health. So she's probably going to be one of the gods with the least amount of health on your team, if not the lowest. So that means that almost every god that she attacks on the enemy team will have more health in her. And then if you're playing against a big tanky support, they're going to have a lot more health, maybe even up to 1,000 more health than you at this point in the game. So this item will just allow you to do even more damage to them, and will just be able to take them down. So I think these two items together are allowing Arachne to take down those bigger targets. So this is my tank killer build. Again, Arachne I think is kind of moving up in the meta a little bit, because basic attack junglers are now doing a lot better. You're seeing Fenrir do a lot better, mainly because of this item, Stone Cutting Sword. But there's also other ways. Shin Size is another item that's basic attack focused, and it's being used on basic attack junglers. So you're seeing that meta, the basic attack jungler, coming back, and a lot of that I think is to maybe help out gods like Arachne, like Bakasura, these gods who were considered to be bad because they were basic attack focused and they weren't able to get in and out of fights easily without dying. And now that they're able to actually do a lot of burst damage, she's got increased movement speed, they're looking a little bit better in the meta. I wouldn't say that they're any more than A. I'd say Arachne's A. Bakasura might still be B plus possibly, because he only has a leap. It's difficult for him to get in and out of team fights, whereas Arachne I think could do that really well. She has an ultimate that is a great escape, and you know, she's great at chasing down enemies. So with this kind of build, I think it works really well on her. This again is specific to Arachne because you're going to see other junglers who they come in and they burst real quickly, like let's say like a Hunbats. Hunbats is mainly in games for his ultimate, for his crowd control. So he's a little bit better at controlling and then doing, you know, a little bit of damage to the smaller targets. He's not a huge heavy damaging god. He definitely is not a basic attack jungler at all. So you're not going to want to try to take down tanks with him. The best way for a jungler who can take down tanks to build them is to build them basic attack, because tanks are slow. They can't run away. So that's why these kind of builds I think work on those gods. So that's it. That's my Arachne build. Let me know if you want to try it out. Let me know how it works. If you like it, if you have an Arachne build that you're using right now, let me know. Again, this is a spicy build. This is not the ordinary Arachne build, so I wouldn't say this is great every game. If you're playing a team that isn't particularly tanky, I wouldn't use this build, but I think this is a nice fun build if you're looking to go in and just take down those big characters. So let me know what you think. If you have any other gods that you're playing right now and you want to know, you know, what kind of builds should I use, or if you have builds that you want to tell me about, that'd be great. So that's about it. Thank you very much for watching, and I will talk to you soon. Bye bye.